Hey everyone, welcome back to Mindful English. I'm Sarah and I'm sitting here with Liam.
Hey everyone, good to be here.
Liam, today we are looking at a piece of advice that sounds completely backwards when you first hear it.
I love counterintuitive advice. What are we unpacking today?
We are talking about the philosophy of setting systems, not goals. For our entire lives, we are taught that to be successful, you have to set your sights on a massive target.
Set your sights on. To identify a specific goal and aim for it. She set her sights on becoming the CEO. We are obsessed with the destination.
And here's what we're doing today. We're showing you why that obsession might be holding you back. More importantly, you'll understand why your daily system matters more than your distant goal.
Because here's the truth. Motivation is unreliable. On the days you are tired, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall back on the level of your systems.
Let's talk about building success that actually lasts. We completely fixate on the end result.
Fixate on. To think about something constantly, to the point of obsession. We fixate on losing 20 pounds, or making $1 million, or speaking perfect English. But the problem is, if we fall short of that exact number, we feel like total failures.
Fall short of. To fail to reach an expected standard or target. And even worse, Liam, what happens if you do reach the goal? What happens when you cross the finish line?
The finish line. The very end of a race or a project. Well, usually, the moment you cross it, your motivation vanishes. The feeling of success is incredibly short-lived.
Short-lived. Lasting for only a very brief time. You ran the marathon, the race is over, so you stop running entirely. You immediately revert to your old lifestyle.
Revert to. To return to a previous state or behavior, usually a worse one. You revert to sitting on the couch and eating junk food.
And that creates a massive yo-yo effect.
A yo-yo effect. That constant cycle of going up and down. You lose weight, you gain it back. You study hard for a test, you forget the language a month later. It is exhausting.
So what does this all boil down to? Why are goals failing us?
Boil down to. If you boil a pot of soup for hours, the water evaporates and you are left with the core, essential ingredients. It means the most basic, fundamental point. And the fundamental point is that goals are just a direction. Systems are the vehicle.
I love that. Your goal is to write a book. That is the direction. But your system is waking up at 6 a.m. to write 500 words. You just have to trust the process.
Trust the process. To believe that doing the right daily actions will eventually lead to the right result, even if you can't see the progress today.
When you focus on systems, your daily life is geared towards action.
Geared towards. Designed or organized to achieve a specific purpose. Your morning routine is geared towards making you a writer. You don't just dream about a book, you build it from the ground up.
Build from the ground up. To start a project completely from scratch, focusing on a solid foundation. And you build that foundation by showing up day in and day out.
Day in and day out. Every single day, consistently and relentlessly. Especially when it is boring, because motivation is unreliable.
On the days you are tired, you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall back on the level of your systems.
Fall back on. To rely on something safe when you are in a difficult situation or when your original plan fails. If you are exhausted, your goal of fluency won't save you. But your system of listening to one podcast on the train will save you.
Exactly. You just have to put in the reps.
Put in the reps. A gym phrase short for repetitions. It means doing the repetitive, unglamorous work required to master a skill.
Does this mean goals are completely useless?
Not at all. Goals are great for seeing the big picture.
The big picture. The overall perspective or ultimate objective, rather than the small details. You need the big picture to know which direction to walk. But to actually take the steps, you have to follow through with your daily habits.
Follow through. To complete an action or a promise that you started. If you design a system, you have to follow through and execute it.
Because the true purpose of a system isn't just to cross one finish line. It's to achieve continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement. The ongoing effort to make incremental changes and get slightly better over time. There is no end date.
And when you shift your focus from the distant goal to the daily system, you naturally set yourself up for success.
Set yourself up for. To create the right conditions to ensure a specific outcome. You aren't just hoping to succeed, you are engineering your life for it.
It really is the only reliable way to bridge the gap between who you are today and who you want to be tomorrow.
Bridge the gap. To connect two disconnected things or reduce the difference between them. Systems are the bridge.
Let me give you a concrete example. Someone wants to improve their English. Their goal is fluency. But what does that actually mean? And how do you get there?
You can't just wake up one day and be fluent, but you can wake up every day and listen to one podcast episode in English.
Exactly. That's the system. And the system is what you can control. You can't control when fluency arrives, but you can control whether you press play on that podcast.
And over time, those episodes compound. 6 months later, you've listened to 180 episodes. That's not a small thing.
It's not. And the beautiful part is, you don't feel the pressure of, am I fluent yet? You just feel the satisfaction of, I showed up today.
That's the mental shift, from outcome-focused to process-focused. And it makes the journey so much more enjoyable.
Because you're not constantly measuring yourself against an impossible standard. You're just checking. Did I do my system today? Yes or no?
And most days, the answer is yes. And that builds momentum. That builds identity.
You start to see yourself as the kind of person who listens to English every day. And that identity shift is more powerful than any goal. We covered the architecture of success today. Let's pick out the phrases that are incredibly useful for both the workplace and your personal life.
The first one is perfect for summarizing a complex situation. Boil down to.
We have a lot of data, but the problem really boils down to a lack of communication. It is a highly professional way to say the most important point is.
The next one is about reliable consistency. Day in and day out.
She became the top salesperson because she made her calls day in and day out. It implies a quiet, relentless work ethic.
The third one is your safety net. Fall back on.
I always keep some emergency savings to fall back on. Or, when I get nervous speaking English, I fall back on the simple grammar structures I know well.
The fourth one is for connecting two ideas or states. Bridge the gap.
We need a new training program to bridge the gap between our junior and senior developers. It's a visual phrase that implies solving a disconnect.
And finally, the phrase for long-term preparation. Set yourself up for.
If you don't sleep well tonight, you set yourself up for a terrible day tomorrow. It highlights the cause and effect relationship of your choices.
So, we have boil down to, day in and day out, fall back on, bridge the gap, and set yourself up for.
And if you want more expressions for talking about productivity, habits, and sustainable growth, check the pinned comment below. We've put together a bonus list. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, the goal of learning English isn't a final destination. There is no finish line.
It is a lifelong system of continuous improvement. You just have to trust the process.
So here's our question for you. What is one reliable system you fall back on when you are having a busy week? Maybe it's listening to us on your commute. Maybe it's reading one page before bed.
Tell us in the comments. We'd love to know what systems are working for you.
And if this episode helped you see that you don't need to wait for some magical finish line, if it gave you permission to focus on today's small action instead of tomorrow's big achievement, share it with someone who needs to hear it.
Because the truth is, we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall back on the level of our systems.
Build a system you can trust. Show up day in and day out. And watch how the gap closes on its own.
Keep putting in the reps, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Right on schedule. All aboard. Off you go.